Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast for this week. I hope you are doing well. Magical Learning Podcast is a podcast that looks at all things learning, be it business, life, or anything else, and we have a little bit of fun with it. We've been running successfully for over 25 years and partnered with global thought leaders like John Mattone and Robin Sharma. And before we get into what we're going to be talking about today and all the topics, we've got to check in on the team who's here with us today. So we've got our Director of Learning here, Danette. How are you going?
Yeah, good, Jez. Been a good week. So we managed last week, Grahame was on the show and we spoke about how Pa was in hospital, which is my dad. He's now out of hospital. He got out and then collapsed and ended up back in hospital. But now he's been home for nearly a week, which is awesome. And he's doing well. So I'm staying down at Mum and Dad's and Graham's come down to help a bit. So Graham's here as well today. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jez.
That's all right. Well, Grahame, as CEO, how are you going this week?
I'm good, Jess. Yes, thank you. Yes, in sunny Wodonga West, enjoying winter's refusal to let go, which I think is a good thing. You know, technically we've still got 3 more sleeps, so but it's good. I'm going to play pretend plumber later in the day. So for those of you who pay attention to this sort of thing, if there is a meme doing the rounds in 24 hours or so about a house having been flooded, then it wasn't me.
The builder.
Uh-huh. That's it. From Bob the Builder to Grahame the Plumber.
And Giz, how's your week been?
My week's been good. I've just been working on I'm now doing some podcast production on a Real Housewives podcast called Throwing Drinks, which people can go check out now as well. I don't know who the overlap is between the Magical Learning audience and Real Housewives podcast, but I'm sure there is a few. So if you do find yourself in that Venn diagram, feel free to head over there. I was also saying I came up with this new idea of something exciting to sort of do with the podcast. I wasn't sure how to do it yet, but for those watching on the video, I have a little whiteboard here. And I was really excited to show this off, but Danette, you've come in and superseded me with what have you got instead of just a whiteboard here?
So, Jez, yesterday, because I use lots of notebooks, I went out and bought a Remarkable 2, and it's like an iPad, a little bit like an iPad, but basically you can write on it, and you can see, if you can see there, I've done a smiley face person as well. Mm-hmm. But then you can highlight it, and it converts it straight to text. And it's light enough that I can put it in my handbag, like a notebook, and use it. So this is my attempt at saving a little bit of paper in the world. And because I literally go through probably a notebook a month. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking little notebooks. Let me just show you the current one I'm using. They're quite thick. So I do go through a lot of paper. So I just figured this might be a nice way of writing stuff, because I like to write as I listen to people, but rather than putting it on paper, put it into the Remarkable. So very excited and very impressed in how they wrapped up all of their stuff. So it was a bit like when you buy something from Apple, their packaging and that was very, very smick. So Remarkable, good so far.
Sounds remarkable.
Nice. Did not see that one. If I can just a really quick shout out to the folks, particularly the CEO at Remarkable, because I know they pay attention to our podcast. I'll shoot you a note with our bank details. You can just drop the sponsorship money in there.
Which won't happen. It might, no.
Well, yeah, look, fingers crossed. We'll have to have Remarkable, if you are listening, reach out. We're fans.
We are.
So today we're going to be doing one of our concept sandboxes, which is a sort of unique kind of thing that we've come up with here. And it's a little bit different. And so I'm going to explain it for new listeners who haven't sort of taken it on before. If you have looked at the title of this podcast, you'll already know a little bit about what we're going to be doing. But actually at this point in time, us that are about to do it have no idea what's going to happen. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about a broad topic as the topic of this conversation, which is bringing more of yourself to work. So that's something that we can bring stories, insights, anything that kind of inspires within us. But then we're going to be pairing that nicely, not unlike a delicious wine with a lovely fish dish. We'll be pairing that nicely with a conversation about business. But we like to have a bit of fun, and because we feel like we don't want to run into any sort of problems, let's have a bit of fun, and we're going to set this business problem in a mythical time, right? So, or some sort of alternate fantastical universe. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Danette and or Graham. Is there some sort of a fantastical land setting, or something along those lines that we may have as it can be a movie, can be a franchise.
You got an idea? I've got a couple, but
Have you?
yeah.
Well, the only one that sort of springs to mind, and we won't go into why it springs to mind, would be something like the Mariana Trench.
What's that?
So 20,000 leagues under the sea, sort of thing. I think it's the deepest part of the ocean, the deepest part of the ocean in the world, the Mariana Trench, I believe. Pretty sure it's called the Mariana. Somebody will obviously connect us later and say it's not called that at all, Grahame. But anyway, let's go with that. What were you thinking?
I was thinking Teletubbies.
Oh, well, okay. Well, let's just combine it. Teletubbies
Under the
wearing aqualungs at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
All right, great. I've got it. Thank you for that. So we're gonna input Teletubbies. We're gonna input the Marianas Trench, and this is gonna spit out the business problem of the Teletubbies are looking to expand their deep sea exploration, and they're looking to upsize, but it's not something they've done before as a business. So can they take their Teletubbies 20,000 leagues below the sea? So that's going to be their business problem. They don't have a particular problem. They're just thinking about upsizing. They're wondering about how to approach it. They've never done it before. Okay. So we'll be pairing that nicely with our bringing more of yourself to work conversation. Let's see how we go. So I might start with, Danette, what does the topic of bringing more of yourself to work, inspire for you? Or what does that make you think of?
So the first bit for me is knowing yourself. So one of the emotional intelligence skills or elements is self-awareness. And so I think in order to be able to bring more of yourself to work, actually understanding who you are a little bit more, what your interests are. And then one thing that I've noticed recently, I've been doing some coaching, and people are passionate about different things, but then they don't let anyone at work know that they're actually interested in things because they assume that everyone else has the same interests. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to someone recently and they really liked client work. So they liked being out with people and they were doing more processing work. And I said to them, well, have you told your boss? And they're like, no. And I go, because I can pretty well guarantee your boss probably doesn't like that side of the business as much as they like the processing. So why don't you let them know? Because they'll probably be really relieved that they've got someone that actually enjoys that. So I think you first have to know what gives you joy and gives you energy at work. And then you have to let others know. And not just the boss, let those around you know as well. Because sometimes you can be really good at and enjoy something and another person might actually prefer the thing that you're supposed to do that you don't enjoy. So I think it helps start some really good conversations. So that was sort of my start on this, Jez. Great topic too.
Yeah, that's really good. And, actually, to be honest, it kind of flows right into mine. So I might just jump off that, which is going into more how whole podcast has happened at Magical Learning, which has come from when I started, I was doing more animation work and stuff. And then we thought that this might be a good opportunity. And it's something that I was passionate about. I listened to a lot of podcasts. And so we just gave it a go. And now we've got up to over 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and counting. But the thing is, it's been fun to do as well. So I think that was really that kind of exactly what you're saying in action there.
Yeah. And what I love, Jez, is when we started, literally I was on my iPhone talking to myself with occasional crows joining in the podcast, and you were doing the producing and that. And how far you've taken that with different ideas that you've learned from other podcasts and just your interest in that whole area. So, if it was just me driving it or Grahame driving it, would not be as great as what you've made it. So, that bringing that interest to the workplace and just sharing it has given us a whole opportunity we wouldn't have done otherwise. So, appreciate you for doing that. And, we love this now. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's actually been a kind of a funny journey. I think also if we think about kind of like when we were trying to bring more to the podcast, some of the other things do you remember when we were doing Spotify green rooms?
Yes.
So for the people that don't know, there was a brief phase where I think they still do them, but Spotify was doing live podcasting where you would set up a room and then people could kind of jump in. So if
Yes.
you jump into the archives of the Magical Learning Podcast, you'll be able to find some of those episodes from the Spotify and Grahame era. But that was also about trying to, get more out of the podcasting thing and see what we could do. And certainly an interesting couple of podcasts.
It was. And we had a few people pop in, didn't
Yeah.
we? Which was amazing, including one guy from Canada from there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, let's do our first hook back to. I was going to say no, because we can jump to Graham's thing afterwards. So we'll do our first hook back then, and we can jump back, and Grahame can be our next section here. So with these, because these two ideas are pretty similar, which is about sort of letting, I guess, your higher ups know your passions and then them trying to sort of work that out. I guess with the Teletubbies. And doing a bit of deep sea exploration and upskilling, is one of the Teletubbies already interested in that kind of thing? Is there a passion already amongst La or Po
Or Dipsy?
Yeah, or Tinky Winky? Do any of them have an innate passion for deep sea exploration?
What do you reckon?
Which one had the TV on their chest? It's that one.
I think that's all of them. I think unfortunately, that's the telly part.
What had an antenna or something?
They all had antennas. All of them had different antennas.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we need to do some research. It's a great point, Trish. I think it ties in really well with what do you?
I'm going to bring up picture of
No,
the
you really don't need to. This is called distraction, folks. Please don't do this at work. We are demonstrating for your benefit what not to do in the work. So the just tying back into Danette's comment before about awareness, and it's there are different aspects or elements to awareness, and one of those is the self-awareness. And in that overarching sort of theme of bringing more of ourself to work, if we have no idea about who ourself is, then the likelihood that we can bring more of ourself to work becomes literally like a lucky dip, rather than a conscious choice. But the other important part of the awareness is awareness of others, of people around us. And when both of you were talking about the genesis of Magical Learning Podcast, and that's sitting at a table up in the back paddock at the farm on an iPhone, and you in Melbourne, being open to risk, being open to try. It reminds me of Seth Godin, one of Seth Godin's books that we have a copy of, which weighs nearly 8 kilograms. It's a monster of a book. And it was titled, "This May Not Work." Well, the first half of the book, it's literally two halves put together. One half is upside down, depending on where you start. On one side, the title is "This May Not Work," and on the other side, "This Might Work," sort of thing. But so the awareness is partly, I suppose, just having some awareness of who are you working with, who's on your team. And the point you were making before about is Tinky Wink, for argument's sake, the deep sea diver, the one who's passionate about what's floating around at the bottom of the ocean, so to speak, and that's where we should start. But if we're not curious, I guess, about ourselves partly, but also if we're not curious about who we have on the team, and if we're not completely open to taking a risk and believing that somebody else might know something that we don't, that actually turns out to be immensely valuable. So going back to Danette's comment again about the ML podcast and the fact that it would be probably non-existent, almost certainly wouldn't exist regardless of any shape. I don't think it would exist at all today if you weren't driving it.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, look, it's a really fun thing to do, and I think that it's like you said, it's kind of come out of the passion thing, and we've got to see a bit more of. I think we get to see a bit more of everybody kind of through it. It gives us a deeper look at everybody. So I think that's a really cool thing about it. And we get to reach more people as a business, which is really cool. But yeah, hold on, my cat has just joined me.
That's Shrieky.
Shrieky. Oh, here we go.
Oh, look, there's Shrieky, another Magical Learning member.
This is quite a tangible example. Bringing more of yourself.
Absolutely.
That's it, folks. If you have a pet eastern brown snake, then I don't want them.
um, what was I going to say? But one thing I was going to say, this is kind of inspired in me, is that also another thing to know is when we start thinking about bringing more of someone to work, it may be at the sacrifice of things that they currently do. So the question actually may be, is it like, not only is it bringing more of yourself to work, but does that sometimes mean bringing someone else in to do these other jobs so that these people can bring more of themselves on the clock hours, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And, sometimes too, it can be, okay, someone else needs to do that, but also that's a great opportunity. And the Teletubbies could absolutely look at that. Should we be doing this thing at all? So if that person isn't enjoying it that much, is it value adding to the business under 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? And if it's not, then maybe we don't need to bring someone in. But the other thing is, and we've spoken a couple of times, and I've definitely spoken on other podcasts about having a little bit of fat in the business. And a lot of people are trying to get 110% out of their people. And the problem is you then burn people out. But in order to experiment and make changes and stuff, you need space. And so part of it is, I also think that rethinking when we go, okay, this person really likes that, we think it's going to value add to the business. Is there stuff that we need to stop doing? Because I was teaching strategy earlier this week, and a lot of really smart people talk about strategy is actually about what we don't do. So what we say no to rather than saying yes to and adding. So if we decide that what that person brings is actually better value add, then maybe there is also the opportunity to stop doing some of the stuff, again, to increase the focus on what's actually really value adding in the business. So I wonder whether by asking Dipsy, Lala, Poe, Tinky Winky might find that there is some expertise there under the sea, that maybe there's some other stuff they can let go of. Or they need to keep doing that thing, thinking about bringing on perhaps a fifth Teletubby.
That vacuum cleaner thing that I think.
I went in exactly the same direction. The little French crayfish, whatever it was. It was a shame, but at the same time, really enjoyed doing it. But I think it's a great point, Jess. I think that, again, that insight around bringing more of yourself to work doesn't automatically mean doing more of what you're currently doing.
Yes.
It may mean going in exactly the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And then if we just bang on a little bit more about the ML podcast, if we had acceded to your request early on, where you were pretty clear that what you really wanted to do was just lick envelopes and seal them and put stamps in, and if we'd left you in that space, I know that's not true. Almost none of that. It's true. But again, if we go back to the Teletubbies at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and look, folks, if you love the Teletubbies, if you grew up with them, I'm not suggesting that that's where they belong.
No.
But perhaps they're just down there at the moment doing a bit of exploration, and I'm sure there's some tasks that they may be doing down there at the moment that might be better off being done by the giant squid who's just hanging around in the corner.
And it just reminds me, Jez, remember when you went to Floriade with your friends from school and you were all dressed up as Teletubbies? We'll have to find that photo and add it to the podcast.
Because one of the, let's just say one of the antennae didn't look exactly like it was supposed to and looked...
not quite perfect.
Yeah, ended up looking like something else. Anyway, another thing I was going to say is another thing they could do is maybe look at other businesses that have done this kind of thing before. So maybe have the Wiggles attempted an exploration into the Arctic waters, or have they attempted a sort of foray into the sea before, gone from entertainment to sea life? And can they look at what did they do right, what did they do wrong, or what did they want to do differently? That could be like another way to kind of look at this as the Teletubbies, sort of moving from one industry to another.
Yeah, yeah. And, there's nothing to say it needs to stay under the sea. It could come above the sea. And what was that piano player that we listened to, the Italian one?
Ludovico Einaudi.
Yes.
Einaudi. Apologies. And he's probably not listening to this podcast, but he should be. Yeah, I know him.
Future guest. That's what we'll just say to all these people.
Oh,
Future
look,
guest.
I would set aside a week to have a conversation with that man.
Do you want to describe it?
Yeah. So there's he recorded an album. I
Greenpeace?
think the album was called Elements, but I could be wrong. But there's a video of him playing a grand piano on a float in the middle of the Arctic.
And it's beautiful.
It's just stunning.
We'll include
the music is
to that.
amazing, but when you add it to the ambience of the environment, and there's there's an ice flow behind him at one point, and a little bit it sort of carves off into the ocean. I don't know whether they planned that, but it just it's
Put a link. We'll put a link.
we can put a link.
Yeah, so people can experience that because it's beautiful.
But again, to your point, Jez, I think just a wonderful example of somebody who has passion, somebody who's prepared to take risks and do something different. And it is very much a case of this may not work. And that may not have even been part of their decision-making process. They might not have cared whether it worked or not. It's like, this is important. So the piece he recorded in the Arctic was with Greenpeace. So it was very much a piece about the environment and how we need to be a lot better at it than we have been in terms of taking care of it. So for the Teletubbies, who else has done something similar? Who else has done something different? What are we trying to achieve as a group, as a team, as an organisation?
And could they partner then? Because, if we look at them sort of wanting to upsize, and with that example, so Greenpeace and that beautiful musician, they partnered together to create something bigger than themselves. And I wonder, your question about the Wiggles and their foray into the sea, could they perhaps potentially partner with someone else in their business? Because one of the things that we're seeing in business globally, and again, I was teaching strategy this week and we were talking about new business models, is that what we're starting to see is happening in, not just small business, but big business, is that rather than going, we're going to expand our business and try and take on areas that we're not expert in, what we're seeing is businesses actually finding partners and they bring together, say 3 companies with very different skills and they create something that none of them could have created by themselves, but they could create together. So I think it was Sony created an electric car that was all about entertainment, and they worked with other organisations to be able to develop that because they had the entertainment side, but they didn't necessarily have the electric car. So I wonder whether the Teletubbies could look at, maybe collaborating with perhaps the Wiggles and some other group to be able to create something that maybe is below the sea and above the sea and maybe something in the sky as well. So maybe they could upsize by going from, down the bottom of the ocean to the top of the ocean to up into the sky. Who knows?
Wow.
Could they joint venture? I'm just thinking like Teletubbies does Outback Steakhouse. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Wow.
Why not?
But what experience?
Yeah. Well, I think I've come up with the business name, and here's a bit of a look for everybody. I've worked out how to use the whiteboard. Here we go. So this is going to be what we're going to be looking at here. So this is Poe doing a bit of deep sea exploration, and I've decided to call their little ship the Teletub Marine. What do you think of that? Pretty good. So book your tickets now.
Or just spin-off. They will be resurrected in a TV series inside 12 months.
And if you want to see what that looks like, please head over to the YouTube or Spotify. You can watch the video of that to see how my drawing skills stack up to what you're imagining in your mind.
I love it. We need Leggers with their animation skills.
Yeah. All right. Well, did we have any sort of final thoughts here on, bring more of yourself to work, but then also how the Teletubbies can sort of expand their business if they want to upsize? Some things to keep in mind.
Yep. So what I love about this concept, the sandbox concept, is sometimes we get stuck in our head and we can't see possibilities because it's actually a bias in our brain. It's much harder to imagine a future than it is to look back at the past. But by bringing in other elements, such as in this instance, we're 20,000 leagues under the sea and we got the Teletubbies, we're able to envision more things about the future and possibilities in the future. So I really love that concept of bringing in some ideas that then spark new ideas, and the whole just as a group coming together and bringing the different perspectives that our brains bring. So that for me is why I love doing these sandbox concept things. So thanks, Jez. Great idea again.
No worries. Grahame, did you have any final thoughts on bringing more of yourself to work and the Teletubbies upsizing into Teletub Marines?
Probably one of the first searches that I'll be doing online after this is where to stream the Teletubbies, sadly. There's so much in this. I think some of the stuff we talked about around awareness. I really like your point about bringing more of yourself to work sometimes means doing less of what you're currently doing, and looking for opportunities to partner with other people. Bill Nye, the scientist, once quoted as saying, everybody that you meet on planet Earth knows something, or everybody you ever meet will know something you don't.
Mm.
But if we're not curious enough to want to find out what that is, then we never get there. The last thing I was going to say, just something I thought it came to mind, was this idea of start where we are. If you're a business and you're at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and think, well, where do we go next? I think it's important to, again, be aware of where we are and acknowledge that we can't end where we are as long as we take just one small step in any direction. Doesn't have to be the right direction, just a direction.
Nice.
Great. Well, I think that's a great note to leave on actually today, Grahame. So thank you for that. Well, Danette and Grahame, thank you so much for joining us, me today on this podcast. We highly recommend people go join the video side of this. If you're not already on that side of things, there's a lot of good features, as you could imagine in this episode, lots of interesting drawings, and you could even see Danette's drawing on the Remarkable earlier in the episode. So feel free to check out all those exciting features. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Everybody that's been doing that, and if you haven't done that, feel free to do it. It's a great way to support the podcast and get us out there. But until next time, everybody, have a magical week.